colleague Vivi and my colleague Jerry. So I found out about the Swim Strong Foundation actually from a neighbor, by way of how this connection is happening. I wanted to give you this personal story. Young child who's taking swimming lessons and told us about it. So I said, great, I want to get my kids involved. And I have 4 children, ranging in ages from 5 to 15. And we started swim lessons with Swim Strong. They have several locations around, including the Brooklyn Sports Club, Rockaway High School, Flushing Meadow Park. So right before the summer, in May and June, we signed up for these lessons, and my children started to learn to swim. Over the summer in July, we go to a house in Long Beach Island, rent a house, and we were by the ocean. And all of us in the ocean at low tide, just playing around. And my oldest, who's 15, with my son, who's 10, were a little bit off playing in the waves, and I was with my 2 younger ones, and I looked over with my husband and said, where's Owen? Where's my 10-year-old? He's gone. And a riptide had taken him all the way out into the ocean. So far, we could barely see him. And my 15-year-old went out after him, but didn't have the skills yet to bring him back. So my husband went after him. He had gone for a 15-mile bike ride that day, also couldn't get them back. We got the lifeguard. They went after my whole family, brought half my family back. And I thank God, not to bring religion into this, that we had at least that little bit of swim instruction, that they were able to stay afloat and stay alive and get back safely. And it gave me tremendous respect for the ocean. I'm not a strong swimmer myself, but it really was very meaningful to me in terms of how important water safety is. Water Safety Day, International Water Safety Day, is coming up this month. And in talking to Coach Sean at these lessons, we talked about getting the word out. Living in Rockaway or being in Rockaway near the peninsula, spending your summers near the ocean, it's extremely important. This is a very, very important topic. How many of you in here are lifeguards? Excellent. And I know that, but there's very little that you get to do and share that. That's exactly the person who saved my family was reminding me of you guys. You know, there were 2 of them, and they were probably around your age. It's an extremely important job that you do. How many of you are strong swimmers? Consider yourself strong swimmers. How many of you are on our school swim team or a school swim team? It's a very, very important piece, and there's too much happening where there's many people who don't respect the ocean, who don't understand how important it is. So that's why we're here today, is to kind of get that word out. We're asking for you to be ambassadors and help spread the word to the younger students here. We need to scale. We have 1,300 students in this school, and having an assembly is not going to get that message out. So the hope is that after today, you'll be prepared to run some of these meetings and present this information and help get the word out about how important water safety is. So before we pull this together, I'm going to ask each of you, if you don't mind at your tables, to talk very briefly, just about 2 minutes, about what this presentation means to you. If you have a personal story, why this is important to you, why you wanted to do this, and then I'll ask a couple of volunteers to share. So take 2 minutes. And I want to say this.
What?
You were being pointed at. He was giving you.
I can share my story. All right. So it was during the summer, probably like August, late August, and I was on the beach. It was kind of a crowded beach, probably like 200 people like in my area, and there was these 2 little kids, 2 children. There was probably like 8 and 10 or something like that. It was a brother and sister, and they get sucked out into the rip current, and then I see them. And then my guy who was sitting down, I was in the chair, he was sitting down. He's like, oh, we have to go get them. So he runs. I grab the buoy. He gets out there. I get out there right behind him. And we just grab the kids. We tell them to hold the buoy. And then the problem was coming back in because the rip was so strong. We couldn't get back in because the water was too rough. So we had to go around the jetty. So we had to swim like with the rip, and we had to go around it. And then we had to bring them on the other side. And then other guards came and they helped us out. And we got the kids and we went back there. We actually got a round of applause too, which was like pretty good. Everyone was on the shore watching, which was pretty good.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. All right, I think we'll have some opportunities to share again later, but I'm going to turn it over to Coach Sean and thank everybody for getting started.
Good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for being here for our presentation. I am Coach Sean Slevin, and I am the founder of Swim Strong Foundation. We are a not-for-profit. That means that although we are a business, all of our revenue goes back into the business, into creating new programs. We are basically a volunteer organization. So we started almost 10 years ago, and we've helped now over 6,600 people learn about water safety and swimming skills, how to swim really well. And over 2,000 of those were children that got free swimming lessons through our scholarship program. And that's all thanks to the volunteers that have helped us do that. And I'm hoping that some of you may want to do that ultimately with us as well. So why? Why do this? My corporate work was as a human resource executive for Fortune 50 companies, but my real passion was my volunteer work, which was as a director and a swim coach for the St. Sebastian CYO team. And St. Sebastian CYO team was one of the leading community-based swim teams in the city with a winning record that goes back 40 years. And I'm proud to say that I was a part of that and helped to continue that. And the impetus for me starting the foundation was a number of those young men and women that I had the chance of working with, who later found me, years later, came and found me and shared with me just how important the work we had done together really was for them, how it helped them in their academics, how it helped them ultimately in their careers, how it helped them now as young parents raising their own children. And so that started me thinking, wow, there's so much good could come out of this little corner in inside Queens. Could we do this on a broader basis? And that was the start of Swim Strong. So, fast forward. Let's talk a little bit about the two sides of our mission. One is the saving of lives. So our mission is to save and change lives through the great sport of swimming. And the saving of lives comes through the water safety education and the teaching of swimming. And the changing of lives comes through, well, once you have the skill, now what can you do with it? And I saw a few of you put your hands up. You are already lifeguards and working in that way. Coach Vivi is a water safety instructor who works with us. And we also have a partnership with the Coast Guard. So they send us their recruits who cannot swim because for the Coast Guard you must pass the swim test. And now I'm proud to say we have 7 young men and women who are in the Coast Guard as a result of that. Of course, in combination with their own good skills, not just the swimming skills. So it really is about, once you have the skills, you can not only help others to get the skills, paying those passions forward, but also have a good career for yourself in aquatics and water safety, as well as first responders. We have a number of, two of our graduates are now EMT professionals, and we have 3 that are in the police department. So first responders and military is a big funnel for us, as well as, of course, aquatic safety. So there's a whole realm of good things that you can do besides learn the skill for your own enjoyment and health, of course, as well as have a career out of it. All right, so we'll get right to our presentation. So some facts about drowning. It actually is the second largest cause of death for kids 14 and younger. And unfortunately, kids of color, particularly African American kids, are drowning 3 times more than their Caucasian peers. And it is the leading cause of death for children 5 years and younger, with most of those children actually drowning in their own homes, in their bathtubs, in their toilet bowls, falling into buckets in their own homes. And what shocked me was that it is the second leading cause of death globally. Here in the United States, hold on for a second. Here in the United States, every day on average 10 people die due to drowning. A new statistic that I found out recently was that for every 1 person who drowns, there are another 5 who actually their lives are changed and not for the better because of spinal cord and brain injuries. So paraplegics, people diving into water that is too shallow, So this is a huge issue which flies very much underneath the radar, and it isn't until somebody has a tragedy that everybody is wringing their hands and saying, oh, how could this be, how could this be? My question, quite frankly, is how could it not? Because it does not get addressed in the schools. So people of your age don't really understand the choices that you make and the decisions that you make that can really affect your lives. Okay. So let's talk a little question here, because we want this to be somewhat interactive. What is the leading cause of death for children 5 and younger here in the U.S.? Drowning, exactly. Okay, so why? They can't swim. What else? You're right, they can't swim. What else?
Their parents may not have been watching them.
Bingo. No supervision. Bingo. Yes. Anything else? And also, children of that age really don't have any concept of what they're getting involved in either, right? They're very attracted to the water, as are autistic children. Drowning is also one of the leading causes of death for autistic children. So water is a big attraction. They want to touch it. They see themselves in it. What's the natural thing to do? So that's how they go into the toilet, right? It's not just after toys, but because they can see themselves and they want to reach down and that's it. Okay, great. So which demographic is most likely to drown?
African Americans.
African Americans, correct. Yes. And then where does drowning fall on the list of causes of death globally? Second. Well done. It depends upon the country. Yes. Here in the United States, car accidents. Okay. So how can we make a change? Everybody? Learn to swim, of course. Absolutely. All right. Did you know that drowning can happen in less than 2 minutes and also in less than 2 inches of water? Only takes 2 minutes and 2 inches of water. So the best defense about drowning, of course, is knowing how to swim and also knowing the right circumstance of which to get into the water or not. So how quickly can somebody drown?
2 minutes.
And in what depth of water? Thank you. Well, that would be me. I would probably feel tired. All right, so let's talk about the general safety tips. Always, always, always swim near a lifeguard. Okay, you guys can read them out.
Never swim alone. Supervise children closely. Don't rely on flotation devices. Alcohol, drugs, and swimming do not mix. Don't swim and dark. Know your limits. Stop swimming and go to shelter when a storm is approaching. And use sunscreen to avoid burns. Stay hydrated to avoid heat stroke.
Great. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about flotation devices. And those of you that are already lifeguards probably have a good sense of this. So why do you think that they're really not so safe? I mean, people tend to think of them as safety devices, right?
Because parents,
And
I don't know, because parents think that their child's safe, so they turn their back on them and they float out.
It gives you a false sense of security.
false sense of security, yes. Parents are also thinking that they're supported in a better way, so they don't have to be as watchful. So yes, they do tend not to look. False sense of security.
If it overturns, it's sometimes hard to get back over it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's happened.
Have not any of you been on like one of those big tubes in the water parks and then tosses over and then trying to get back up onto the tube? It's tough. Right. Also, what about those floaty things?
Water wings?
Water wings, right? Water wings. What about them?
Like, say they always wear those like floaties when they're in the pool, and then like children think that they can go in the pool whenever they want, and then when they don't have them on the ground.
Ah, and are floaty things always working? Because most times with these, yes, you have to put air into things. So you can have a leak, something can happen, and the flotation device no longer is a flotation device. All right, so we really want to make sure that people understand it's for recreational use only and not as a safety device. Okay, so true or false? Knowing your limits means to swim only in the depth that is good for you. True or false? True. Only nowhere you go. Nowhere you go. Okay, don't. And it's so easy, right? We're all in the pool together. There's some activity going in the deep end. All your friends are saying, come on, come on, come on, let's go. What's the matter? You scared? Scaredy cat? Scaredy cat? Yeah, everybody's smiling. Not like you haven't been there yourself before. Okay. All right. So do you think that most people actually do know their limits when it comes to swimming? Give me, why would you say that? Good.
People assume that since their head is above the water that they're safe, but they forget that there's a current that can go over their head.
Good. Even in a pool, you can walk into just 2 steps forward and you can be a lot more deep than you thought you would be. Yes.
A lot of people in the ocean underestimate the ocean, so they'll go out farther than they think because they're standing, but then there's a rip current and they'll just pull them out.
Yes. And what about in other types of water? Because I know the ocean is here and near and dear to our hearts, of course, but there are other bodies of water. Anybody else can think about knowing your limits and why maybe that isn't always the case? So I'll give you a personal story too. Miss Smith was kind enough to share hers. So I was 5 and I was at a lake. Lake is a different environment, although there can be currents in lakes too. Big lakes, there can be currents. My mom was up on the beach area reading a book, and I was at my knees. I did not know how to swim. I took 2 steps forward, and all of a sudden, I was in a hole. And I couldn't get to the bottom, and I couldn't get to the top. And all I was thinking is like, where's my mom? Mom. And of course, I wasn't screaming because I had a mouthful of water. Finally, she did see me, and she came in and grabbed me. But I was so traumatized because of that I would not go in water for 4 years. And my dad finally convinced me to go back and to swim. And within 6 months, I was competing on swim team. And I'm a certified scuba diver, and I sail, and I do everything else around the water. So my life today would be entirely different if I didn't get back in the water after that experience. But today, I remember very well what that felt like. And so I do a lot of the work with the adults who have had trauma in their lives too, because I know what that's exactly like. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the pool. So some tips, okay? Who's a pool rat here more than a beach rat? Anybody? Just myself, I'm more of a pool rat. A few pool rats here too. Okay. So you guys, pool rats, don't be outside. Yeah, say hi to the pool rats. Go ahead.
Alright, do not run. Look for depth markers. Look before you jump. Don't dive into shallow water. Swim at a depth that is safe for you. Know your limits. Don't push or jump onto others. Don't chew gum or eat while you swim.
Okay, so do not run. Why? Common sense. Slippery when wet. Bingo. More bones are broken on pool decks than anything else. Yeah? What about the chewing gum or eating? Yes. So when you turn and you get that nice big lungful of fresh water, guess what's going to the back of your throat? That nice piece of gum that you can chew on, right? And that's it. Okay. I think the others are pretty obvious. The depth markers. Talk about where you find those, please. Now share with your where? On the side of the pool, so like in the pool itself, you might find them. Any place else that you would find the depth markers?
Sometimes on the outside.
Sometimes on the floor of the pool deck. Good. Where else? Walls. Yes. Good. So lots of different places. Always better to look for the data. Data is powerful. I myself personally have very bad depth perspective. Does anybody know what depth perspective is? So I find it difficult to tell how deep something really is by just looking at it. It kind of all looks the same to me. Doesn't look much different. So I know for myself, I have to look for data. And I would advise you to do the same. All right, so now we're going to come to an area that maybe is not as common for everybody around here, but lakes and ponds. Right? So we always want to go in feet first. Why?
If you dive in, you could get a spinal injury.
Absolutely. And what is typical in a lake and a pond that certainly is very different from a pool? I'm not saying the beach, but the water is not
It's not clear.
clear, right? So you can't really see the bottom. So you don't know really what you're getting into. So most important, you're right, to go in feet first. Absolutely. Okay. Weeds and grass, another thing that can be really freaky. When you first encounter them, you're not expecting them, and they do seem to grab you. And it's really more your own activity, because you panic a little bit, you're trying to get away from it, because it's like, icky, not fun. And so, you can wind up getting more trapped. Just relax, be calm, and start to gently move away from it, and, you're absolutely fine. Okay, right. I do want to just mention one story that happens here locally, in Brooklyn, last year, actually. There was a family picnic in Prospect Park. And Prospect Park has a pond in it. And at the time of the year that the picnic happens, the pond was full of green scum. Have any of you noticed it, right? So that's the algae blooms, and it almost looks like a carpet across the pond. And the family was barbecuing. The two cousins, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, did what little kids are going to do, went exploring, right? None of the adults realized it. They wandered off, they found the pond. They started off across the pond, thinking, not realizing that it was water. And both of them fell into the pond. Fortunately, one of the adults realized it. They went out looking for the kids. They were able to grab one safely, but the youngest, they were not in time for. So that family celebration turned into a family tragedy like that. And how easy it is to not do the supervision. So when you're together at a party, or your parents are together at a party, and particularly when there are young kids, assign one person every 15 minutes that has eyes on the children around water. No cell phone, no food, no beverage, nothing. Eyes on the kids for 15 minutes, and then they pass that responsibility to the next parent. So this way everyone can still enjoy the party, but those kids are always watched. So rivers. Mad currents in rivers, particularly in our rivers. My dad grew up on the east side of Manhattan, and he and his buddies used to go swimming in the river, right by the 59th Street Bridge. Well, one of them didn't come home one day, because the current was so strong, it sucked them right into the I didn't even know what you call that, the footing of the bridge, and bam, that was it, died. So rivers are very dangerous, and underneath, and again, I speak for New York City rivers, underneath our waters are old rusted automobiles, detritus from construction sites, big blocks of cement, tree stumps, all sorts of nasty things that nobody in their right mind would think they would want to swim with. Okay, and you cannot see them. Does anyone remember the story of the young college grad last year? July, I think it was, who went out celebrating his friend's graduation and decided it would be a good way to jump into the river and celebrate that as well, and dove off the pier in Brooklyn. Harbor Patrol found him about 4 hours later, dead. So, it's common sense, but maybe common sense is the least common of all the senses. If you can't see the bottom, don't jump in. All right, water parks. Who's gone to Splish Splash or any similar type of water park? And perhaps on the lazy river, and that's what I can get back into. All right, so particularly for young kids, should always be in a life jacket around water activities. If you're not a strong swimmer, yes, it's not exactly the best fashion statement in the world, but better safe than sorry. Better be able to laugh about it in the selfies that you take. Wear your life jacket. Okay? Just again, common sense. Wait till the rider ahead of you has passed the safe point, so that you're not on top of them when you go down the slides. Going down on your back, face up, feet first. And of course, don't run the same slippery stuff twice. Any of you have a boat? Or a boat? Yep, good. Sail or power? Power. Okay, so then you should talk to us a little bit about this. Why is it not really safe to swim around, particularly power boats? Caught in the prop. What's a prop? Motor, propeller. Okay, shark. Get an elbow in there, lose an arm. Right?
I actually have a good story about this. We went in. There's this boat really close, like it was like on the almost beached, and we went in for a save a guy, and like the boat was trying to help, and we were like telling him to go away, and we were getting sucked in towards the motors. We were like, turn off the engine, and like we were so close, and he finally turned it off. Like we almost got like chopped up. It was crazy.
Yeah, talk about seeing your life flash in front of your eyes. Yeah. It's a little scary for sure. What else about a boat? Okay, so in a power boat, what else is there? Barnacles on the bottom. Yes, that will scrape you up. Nasty. Right, very nasty. Something else. The power boat is run by a motor, right? That moves the propeller. And what do you have to use to get the motor to run? Gas, and gas has noxious odors, so you can, if you're swimming behind the motor, even you know yourself, right? If you're hanging out and you're by the motor, you get that smell, right? So you get a little lightheaded? Maybe it's the same. Why should you always wear a life jacket when you are out boating? Even if you're a great swimmer. Why? In case you fall off the boat, you could wind up banging your head as you fall over, so all the great swimming skills in the world that you have when you're unconscious are not going to help you. Right? Yeah. So the vest is really important. Okay. Alright, so we're at our favorite place. Now, this doesn't happen so much here in New York, but let's put ourselves in California for the moment. Okay, we're on the other coast. We're the best coast, the other coast. Okay? Never turn your back to the ocean. Anybody think why? Huge waves, yes, but generally you'd see those, right? They also have out on the west coast something called rogue waves. Rogue waves. Those are unexpected huge waves. So you could be just doing your thing, not paying attention, and all of a sudden, and swept right out. Yes. All right. Why? Who's familiar with the jetties? Why should you stay away from them?
They create a rip on one of the sides, which will pull you out and around.
Yes. Good. Why else? They'll cut you up. Absolutely. They'll cut you up. Anybody else have another idea why you should stay away from the jetties?
Fish.
Say again?
There's a lot of fish.
Fish! I was actually thinking of that. Hold on, yes, fish. And who knows bluefish?
Yeah, they bite.
They bite! Okay, they bite. And they bite anything in their path. Okay, so if you're in trouble, so lifeguards, call or wave for help. What's really the best thing to do? Our lifeguards that work at the beach?
Well, you're probably not going to be able to hear them because.
Probably can't hear, yeah. Calling is not the best thing, probably won't be heard. So how do you really get the attention? How can I spot the person that's faking it versus the one that really needs my help?
Can't really
Yeah,
fake
you really can't fake
it.
it. Like if someone's faking it and you go in, then like you can tell if someone's really distressing.
You can tell if someone's actually doing that.
So let's play with that for a second. So usually, at least in my experience, and I was not a beach lifeguard, I was a lake lifeguard, but usually the people that were faking it were more the, I'm drowning
You're
types.
not able to like really do that.
The one that's in trouble cannot even vocalize because everything that they are doing, their body, and it's totally instinctive, everything that they are doing is focused on just getting that next breath. You will often see them just submerged under the surface of maybe just the round up, just trying to get the breath. That's the one that's in most trouble.
Ups and down too.
Yes.
That's good.
Another big issue on the beach is like when people are like falling out and they try to like call to their friends, like they wave and stuff. Like it's not good to do that because then when we see that we might think that like they're like trying to get our attention, saying someone's drowning.
And it's really hard to educate people as to the right etiquette on the beach, right? Because you're there to have fun, and the last thing you want to think about are rules and regulations, right? And people are just going to kind of naturally do that. You know, hey mom, look at me, or hey so-and-so, come on out, whatever it is. And you're up in the chair and you're watching and you're thinking like, is this something that's going to be actionable on my part that I need to worry about, or is this somebody that's fine and just having a good time? Okay, jellyfish. Anybody been stung by one of those? Yes, not fun. Tell me your experience. How did it happen to you?
Me?
Yeah.
I was in Florida. And I didn't see it coming, and it came up from behind. I just started swimming off. I was like, nope.
Where did it get you?
In the back.
In the back.
I think I had a see my protection. I swam back to the shore. I was like, nope, that's enough for me today.
So did it leave a scar?
Nah, I think I got like allergic reaction or something.
And how did that manifest itself? How did that show on you?
I know, just
A rash?
or like a rash.
Yeah,
It's like a red well.
Oh!
I don't know if it's true.
Say it again. Bingo. Say it again. Yeah. If you don't have vinegar, seriously, if you don't have vinegar is a good thing to put on a jellyfish sting. If you don't have that and somebody can urinate on you, that works too. And a good supply of vinegar. Okay. Pardon me? They are more poisonous. They have more poison in their sting, and so their sting is typically more troublesome. Some people won't survive. Okay, so surf warnings. What are the surf warnings down here in the Rockaways? What do you guys use for surf warnings?
Red flags.
Red flags. Does everybody know what red flags mean if you see them on the beach? Don't swim here. Yeah, don't swim here. Anything else? So in New York, see, I know in other places of the country they have multiple colored flags for different things. So like the red is always signifying don't swim here. But they also have yellow flags. No, not here. So if you ever see the yellow flags, that's a warning also that it's rough water, and you might want to be careful. And then of course the red is don't go, and green would be it's perfectly safe to swim. All right. Lifeguard directions, scuba only if trained and certified. I can swear to that. Why don't you bring glass to the beach or to the pool? It breaks, and then you step on it, and it's nasty, right? Or it gets buried in the sand, and some unsuspecting person comes along and... Okay. Coastal bluffs. We do have these on the island, out on the island. Does anybody know anything about coastal bluffs? So those are areas that are kind of built up, that are overlooking the beach. Why do you think you need to be careful when you're walking on those? Well, yes. Sometimes the waves will hit those bluffs, and such, particularly after a storm. It might not be apparent to you that the bluff is actually damaged, because you can't really see it all that well, but the wave action against the bluff could have weakened it, and so by you just simply stepping out on it, boom. All right, now we're going to get into the rip currents, everybody's favorite topic of conversation. Who's our rip expert? You lifeguards, come on. All right, so how about, let's just take a read on it. So they are natural hazards. Rip currents are natural. They do generally happen in the ocean, but they are also known to happen in large lakes as well. They create rips. And sandbars will trap an incoming wave, and in the effort of the wave to finally, get out there, it breaks the sandbar, and that's what causes the rip, pulling the person out into the ocean. Definitely storms and hurricanes, they intensify during that time of the year, and you definitely want to avoid them if you can. So I didn't know what a rip looked like for a long, long time, and I couldn't find pictures of a rip either. So Noah is getting us a great picture. So can you see what's different about this water?
There's
There's no wave, and then also with rip currents, you have to look for bubbles and like discoloration in the water.
Yes. So it's not great to see, but it is a little bit, the color of the water is a little bit different. It is also appears calmer, right? Appearances can be deceiving. And you can see the waves on either side, but not where the current is pulling them. So that's what it looks like. So all of you beach goers and here living here on the peninsula should definitely know what those are. Okay. All right. So you've done everything right. You're swimming where the lifeguard is. You have a buddy with you, but somehow you just get pulled out into that rip. Now what? Has anybody personally experienced it? I have. I loved it when I had my tanks on my back, but I didn't love it when I didn't have them on my back. So what was your experience? When it first grabs you, what do you feel?
For me? Well, no, I was actually, what was it? I was lifeguarding on the East Park Beach over there, and I just went out for a swim. I was on my break, and you know, I didn't have my whistle on me or anything. I'm just swimming out there, and I look up, and I'm like really far out, and then right next to me is just a patron, like a random guy. I'm like,
what are you doing here?
what are you doing all the way out here? And he looks at me and goes, help me! I'm like, oh, I'm trying to bring him in. He was big, he's rather big. I couldn't really bring him that much. And then the dad and the kids were on kickboards, and they come like next to me, and I'm like, I'm kind of still far out. I'm like, well, I just put them all on the kickboards, and then like I'm trying to push everyone in, but I couldn't really do anything. And after a while, I got like attention from my other lifeguards, and they had to come in and get me and
Sure.
all the other
Yeah,
guys.
because you like used all your energy. I mean, I was a competitive swimmer at the time when I got caught in the rip, so I was probably in the best shape of my life. And the first thing I did was panic because it was unexpected. I didn't know what it was. All of a sudden, I'm getting sucked out, and then I realized after a minute or two. But I got to tell you, the first 30 seconds, I was in full-blown panic, and then I calmed down. And it took me a good hour to swim it out. And I was probably about 2 miles down the beach because I realized what I had to do. I had to wait till it dropped, the current kind of let go, and then I swam parallel to the shore for a while, but then it caught me again. So this was like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And 2 miles later, I finally was able to drag my sorry butt out of the water and like lay there puking up, everything that I had swallowed along the way. Yeah, not fun. Okay. So what I failed to do was flip over on my back and relax and wait till the current just did its natural thing and abate before I turned back over and swam. I was still thinking, the quicker I get to shore, the better. And so I didn't conserve my energy. And most people die in rip currents because of panic, and they lose their energy, so they can't sustain themselves. Just get on your back and float. You can breathe, you float, the salt water helps keep you up. It's fabulous. Swimming parallel to shore is kind of the same thing. I was doing kind of angular, but you can do the parallel to shore also. Down here in the Rockaways, where are the rip currents most prevalent and why? Down here in the Rockaways, where are they most prevalent and why?
Like 2 summers ago, I think, or a summer, after Sandy, there was like bits in the sand, and I was swimming and I swam past when they went by. I didn't realize because the water was blowing me out. So I think like where the sand is low, that's where they're most prevalent.
Well, that's an interesting observation, and I will tell you that definitely since Sandy, the topography, meaning the landscape of the ocean floor, is very different. So that's actually a good call out. But on the peninsula here,
Well, if there's a jetty nearby, it's most likely near the jetty.
It's almost like a magnet, right?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah. But no, just the Far Rockaway area is more likely than up here on this end. Why? Anybody think what's different about the Far Rockaway area? They have a drop-off. What created the drop-off? Anybody remember the parents talking about this years ago?
Well, it's different, like you said, like the further you get downtown, the drop off, because there's like a channel between the peninsula and Atlantic Beach.
Yes, exactly. So the Army Corps of Engineer came in and dug that channel out so that more ships, boats could pass between those 2 points, and that did create more of a problem in that part of the Rockaways than up on this end of the peninsula. All right. So, how about you guys read them out?
Never turn your back
Back
on
on
children.
children, no matter
Where
where
you
you
are,
are. Having a child each put just to do something in case of emergency, fully charged, even if it's
Is that the end of the class? Do we have time for a few questions or? Yeah. We do? Okay, so you had your electricity camp on
be safe, have fun.
All right, so why is it important to know about water safety and drowning in a place like New York City where we all live? Surrounded by water. Why else? Yeah, that would be good. You good? Not only surrounded by water, but water running through us too, okay, as well. Good, very good. Also, does anybody kind of notice in the news that our waterfront areas are being developed now at a much greater rate? I mean, ask your parents about this in their lifetimes if they've ever really heard about our waterfronts being so developed. So the fact that that is happening gives more access to people to do stupid things, unfortunately, right? So this is another reason why it's so important to swim. We want to be able to enjoy the water, but we want to be safe while we're doing it. All right, so let's see. Any questions from you? Yes. Yes. Many. I think Coach Dick will probably one more. So guys, what I would offer to you is I want to say, first of all, thank you for being such an attentive and collaborative audience. I hope that you will take this information forward and teach others, not only within your school, but elsewhere on the peninsula. We, as a volunteer organization, need you. If you have an interest in coming to help others learn these skills, please get in touch, and Mr. will be able to let you know how to do that. We have coming up on next Saturday, Water Safety Awareness Day at Far Rockaway High School on 2 to 5. We're setting up at 1 o'clock. So if any of you would like to come out, and we're going to give free swim lessons to the community, you're welcome to join us in the pool to do that. I just need to know, so you have to kind of let me know ahead of time. And there's CPR training as well, and surfing, a surf clinic too.